police car and some of the things that the officer told me to prepare myself for, I couldn't have prepared myself for. So we understand that it is very much a challenge, and that's why it's important that we review the policies and make sure that officers are mentally ready for the challenges that they are going to face. And that's why we work closely with the Tyler Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, and any other law enforcement agency across the country as far as the NAACP is concerned. So we share your sentiment, and thank you for your comment.
And also, I know about the accreditation. I was able to accompany Tyler Police Department to go to Raleigh, North Carolina, to get their accreditation. And there was a lot of cities there in their departments, but Tyler was one of the few that received theirs during that time. But that don't speak for every police on the force. You're gonna have some bad ones.
You mentioned sometimes.
Are you?
You mentioned sometimes how conversation or dialogue can be uncomfortable. Does the NAACP worry that if he wasn't a Heisman Trophy winner, that it could have turned out differently? Was that a concern?
You know, that's a good point that you bring up, because the timeline, this happened on the 11th. We didn't get the information until a week later. I was awakened by a text message that there was a video that we needed to come and pick up from the police station because there was an interview that was going to take place later that morning. I had no idea of what had happened in this city. And so with that said, once we were able to go down to the police station and look at the video, we were troubled. First of all, that this had happened a week prior. And if we have the relationship that we think we have, then these things should be transparently shared with us, especially when there is the potential for it to have some dire consequences associated with it. So the uncomfortable part of how we deal with the police department is that relationship that can be strained at times because of procedure or because of policy that they particularly might have to follow. But at the end of the day, if you want to gain the trust of the citizens, we want to make sure that we bridge the gap between our communities and law enforcement. It's very important to make sure that transparency is not only followed because it's a high-profile athlete, but because it's an ordinary citizen that might stay next door to any number of us that are here.
Mr. Maynard, are you still with me?
Yeah, this gentleman had a question, Channel 7 here. I don't think I heard an answer to it. He asked, what's the way forward? Was that your question?
Yes. Moving forward after this situation right now, how are we able to? How is the city of Tyler going to be able to move forward? Just not the city of Tyler, but the whole community to be able to move forward from this. Is it going to take sensitivity training with the officers to be able to understand the direction that the NAACP and people in Tyler are coming from on this?
Yeah, definitely. You know, here's the thing: we're going to continue to do what we've been doing. Another thing, we're not going to leave the table. We're coming to the table even more, and we're coming to the table even more truthfully to say that there are instances that we have an issue with that need to be addressed. But at the end of the day, it's going to take continued dialogue, and it's one thing to talk, but it's another thing to listen, and then it's another thing to do and make sure policy is put in place. And a lot of the changes that were referred to by our chief of police on today in today's press release statement, they are things that the NAACP addressed before that meeting on last Friday. We met with the chief of police earlier that day because that is the way we do things. We are not here to bring up issues that we don't want to bring solutions to, and we're going to continue to forge and bring solutions to the table and continue to be available, ready, and willing and able to do whatever we can for this community to make sure the city of Tyler moves forward and other cities around us can look at the example that we set here in this city.
Now, we heard the statement read by Earl Campbell that he sent. How bad does it make the city of Tyler look from this incident right here? Is it something that we can get over, and hopefully there'll be more people more of his friends come, continue to come for this, or is this like a black eye to take a city of Tyler a while to get over?
Well, you know, that's an interesting rebound that only time will tell, you know, how this is going to have long-term effects across this country. Right now, Tyler is being viewed as a place with some racial insensitivity across this country. People are noticing things that we've been saying all along, and there are issues that we're going to have to address. Now, as far as Mr. Campbell is concerned, we're embarrassed for him. We sat at the table with Mr. Campbell a few years back in dealing with the Rose Stadium issue and the relays leaving Rose Stadium. And Mr. Campbell sat at the table, and he said that he was personally offended because everywhere he had went in this country, he always made sure people knew he was from Tyler. I've traveled across this country, and people say, "Where are you from?" I say, "Tyler." They've never heard of it, but I say Earl Campbell. They say, "Oh, okay, I know where that is." So it was important to him to make sure and emphasize Tyler, Texas. So that has to reciprocate. Tyler, Texas, in turn, needs to make sure that we're responsible to those that have paved the way for this city, that have invested in this city. And the chief and the mayor did make note that that was a mistake that was made as well, that when there is a situation in a ordeal of this magnitude, city officials and police officers need to be notified so that they can have due notice of potential situations that might arise as a result of visitors in this city.
I just wanted to piggyback on this first question about moving forward. Is there anything specific that y'all have planned, whether it's meetings or town hall or something?
Yes.
Because you mentioned cultural sensitivity
Yes.
and
Yes.
the way they answer questions or
Right.
ask questions.
Right.
How are y'all, what's the next step to deal with that?
Well, at this point, we have quarterly meetings with our city manager, mayor, and our police chief. We met the other day, I believe, and we decided that we were going to meet every other month. And we definitely can call meetings with our chief on a need basis if we need to meet. Usually it can be facilitated. But the thing about it, you know, these type of settings, it's important for us to stress and emphasize where we're coming from as a community. Because again, we can dialogue all day. We can train all day. But the fact of the matter is we have to understand that in this country we have a race issue. That many people want to deny the fact of what we have suffered from, and that is racial insensitivity in communities such as Tyler. But we're going to continue to come to the table. We're going to continue to meet with our chief and city manager, and of course, in our communities. One thing that we want to particularly concentrate on is how our children interact with police officers, because we're having to make sure that our children know that your battle is not won on the street, and confronting officers is something that you need to address in a proper manner. So we're trying to make sure that we get all the pieces in place so we can convey that to our communities, because at this point, it's no discrimination on age, on gender. We all many times face challenge in interactions with police officers. So the job of making sure that that's done is a hefty one, and it's going to take each and every one of us in this community first to acknowledge the problem that we have. And that's the problem that we're having, because we are not readily identifying that, and that's why the NAACP is here today. Mr.